All right. So this is what we call the afterburn. Okay. I only went 4 minutes over. That wasn't bad. Okay. So if you want to line up for the afterburn, you can here. If you're on live stream, we're opening up the chat. You can type in your comments and questions over there on the stream. Okay. And so we'll begin with Sarah Beth. It's her birthday tomorrow.
Okay, I wasn't going to say all of it, but since you said that.
And we do wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you. Comment and a question. Comment, I absolutely needed every trial, all of the many trials I got to go through this year. I can look back and I have leveled up. I am someone different than I was. And how much I appreciate that going to this birthday, I'm celebrating in that milestone because for this year, I got a small taste of what Abraham experienced this year. I didn't leave anything on the table. Everything I gave, I had, and I became somebody different.
Amen.
Everything you said, I can attest to from this last year.
Good, amen, amen.
And then question, I think I answered it or I took what you said today and I answered it for myself, but I want to make sure I connected it right.
Mm-hmm.
So, say I have a belief that is in conflict with what I should be doing, with the belief I should have for the Father.
Right.
So the way to handle that, if I understood you correctly, would be to immerse myself in the things of the Spirit and develop a relationship stronger with Him and the belief I should have, and that would correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well said. And by the way, I just want to encourage all of you, when you hear somebody like Sarah Beth say something like, I have leveled up, okay? Just remember, that's just a new level. That's not the end point, right? She knows that, but so I don't want you to think that you've arrived when you feel like I've leveled up. I'm now a different person than I was before. Look, there's some of you that when we do our immersions, when we do our mikvahs, have asked if you could go back in, even though you've been in before, because there's more of you want to leave in the water. Well, that's something you might want to do every time you kind of make a new level up in your spiritual growth, is you may want to realize, I need to go bury some stuff, okay? Because you don't want to be carrying all that old you around. So you want to have that metaphor of burying it, so to speak. All right, Brandy.
Thank you, Rabbi. So, oh my gosh, you were talking about doubts, right? That's just a lack of conviction in something. But in the previous walk that a lot of us came from, you were encouraged to strengthen your belief. One, like in Deuteronomy, where it says, don't even ask them how they do what they do. So when you were approached by somebody or asked a question that you couldn't defend, because you're always supposed to be ready to give a defense, your presuppositions were attacked, maybe. So I guess I'm having a hard time with the whole doubting thing, because for me, still remembering like yesterday, being misled, you want to constantly be Berean, which was the other thing we were instructed to do, to really seek and search out everything that you feel Abba is telling us through you, to seek out those truths. So instead of what a lot of us did previously, which was, nope, you just have a strong faith, I believe it because I believe it. You really didn't actually go and prove it using the scriptures. Because a lot of us probably would be in this walk sooner had we been able to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So when you're going through your walk, your journey, right? You're living your life. There are parts of it that have to do with how you interact with a leadership person. There's also parts of it just your personal walk, right? For example, you are learning about and you understand that there's a thing called Shabbat. Well, guess what? You should have proven that to yourself and seen it in the scriptures and everything else. And then he's going to test you and allow you to have a situation where you might be tempted to do something on Shabbat you shouldn't do. And that's going to see whether or not you have doubt or you have belief, okay? And so those kind of things are going to go in. And as far as interacting with a person, look, if any of you have ever been in a terrible situation, I mean with abusive, controlling, cultist leadership or whatever, you can go back and know exactly what that looked like. Not what it felt like, because that may make you feel similarly. It's a feeling, it's an emotion, as opposed to was it actually contextually the same thing. I don't get involved in anybody's personal life. I don't care what you do in your personal life unless you come and ask me about it. Then I'll give you my counsel on it. But I don't try to control any of that. But what you want to do then is in a Berean way, if you come and get counsel, take it back to the Father, take it back to the Scripture, and then if it doesn't line up in some way, bring it back to me, and then we talk about it some more, right? But it's not just take what was being said, and that's it, okay? I don't want you to be ever with any leader anywhere, just hook, line, and sinker just because they said it. Now, ultimately, when you develop enough of a relationship, you may get to the place where you feel you can do that because you already know that person that well. Okay? Because relationally, you've spent time, years together in a relationship of authority and like congregant member and me, and you've learned through that relationship to trust. Okay? But really, that's not the problem. The problem is when you go back and look at it and go, well, it didn't match up with what I was hoping for, what I wanted to hear, so now I'm not going to know if I can trust him. That's not the reason to have a problem. Now you need to find out which one of us is right. Okay, you need to find some way to vet that out because you can't just go that what I said didn't line up with what you thought makes you right and me wrong or vice versa.
Okay, so everything that you teach us, however, we should be able to search the scriptures to challenge the presuppositions that we have, or still.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I give you all the scriptures that cover the subjects so that you can see them yourself.
Okay, but not mechanically, like the mechanical stuff is easy, right? But as you go through thanks for finally getting to the fiery darts, 2 weeks later, it's been 2 months, I'm just saying.
That's right, you asked about that and I told you I would cover it.
And every week Ken would come and say, he's still not doing it.
Well, because I just have to wait till I get to James.
I know, but I loved it. I was excited. My husband was nudging me like, he's gonna do it. But so the doubting, because when you mentioned the person who said they had the BAM, that everything started coming, is this even real?
Right.
You know, when you have those things, again, not thinking mechanically, when they come through the tests that he's sending your way to prove yourself to you, those are the things you're talking to kind of wade through. Because you've already said that we're going to have the seasons of plenty and the seasons of, you know, highs and lows and everything.
Yes, the answer to you is yes.
Okay, so we're just coming and counseling through the things that aren't mechanical to identify that this is one of those times, or if it's us.
When you counsel, it's almost never to find out how to or what to mechanically do. It may be to figure out why you're struggling to do, which now we're dealing with a thought or an emotion, okay, that's challenging your ability to do the mechanical. All right? Because there are teachings that are simple enough to tell you what to do. Mechanically, keep Shabbat, keep the feast, don't do this, don't do that, whatever. Those are mechanical things. But when you're coming for counsel is because you're being challenged in one of those things mechanically, or it has more to do with, most likely, relationship stuff. Okay? Husband and wife relationship, community relationship, relationship with him, relationship with leadership, relationship with your children, relationship with your job. Just relationship stuff more than anything else. Okay? Which is challenging you becoming like him in more ways than just the mechanical stuff. And so he's going to let you go through to see how you handle it. It's really about showing your maturity, okay? Each level that you move up is moving up in a level of maturity, okay? And so then you're responding. Yeshua is the ultimate level of maturity in this walk, what that looks like in handling all things, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. Okay, Ashley?
Wonderful teaching as always. Thank you. I wanted to ask a question and I wanted to give a comment, if that's all right with you, sir.
Yep.
My question was, right before we moved here, I guess we didn't ever really decide to come because we were more like yanked here because of our situation. But when we got that knock on the door from CPS, and when I had called Elder, I believe it was like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and I was on the phone with him for several hours, and I had I think that was my first clinging to you guys. Is that why when I clung to you guys, it seems like the yank happened where Yahweh took me out of Georgia and pulled us here? Is that why? Because we clinged on to you guys and in the form of him that it opened?
It could be. I mean, there's no telling, sometimes things are time and chance and they sort of coincidentally happen to line up nicely. Sometimes they're things that he causes, okay? It's not something we can actually figure out.
Because it was like a complete 180 and a complete paradigm and a complete everything.
Look, sometimes timing is just timing, He popped your bubble when he popped it because it was the right timing.
Okay.
And then all the other things that play out after that. or because he kind of knew that those things would play out starting at the moment he popped your bubble, that down the road this would happen and this would happen, this would happen, because he's already played that through. If I pop her bubble here, then this kind of, and he just knows all the scenarios. All right?
And then the comment I wanted to, was a two-part comment. What I wanted to make is about giving up. Before I came in this walk, I was there's quite a few times where I thought about giving up, and one time where I had a failed attempt. And I am so grateful for that, because looking back now and seeing those trials, it's like, I needed all that to be able to appreciate where I'm at. And it's, not just appreciation, but to be able to go and have that as a learning tool and go, okay, in that moment I did X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z didn't work, so let's try 1, 2, and 3. It's to never give up. It's to change your thought process and to change your direction, because the direction you're going is obviously not working, and don't end it just because you hit a dead end. Back up, turn around, and try again. So you made me think of all that. And the last thing is, I wasn't going to say this, but I think it's where I'm at. I needed to say it for myself. I was working on the Franklin Covey class that they have, and we just completed that again. And one of my clarifying statements for my value of love, and I just looked at it, it was funny, it says, I always walk with my Elohim. I take impeccable care of my physical and mental health. I create and stick to vertical structures and boundaries appropriate in Torah. As a wife and a mother, I do my job to nurture my children and to help my husband build his business while taking my time, my emotional energy available for him and for my friends. I only speak good of leadership, respecting their time and values. When I go out into the world, the light of Yeshua shines forth from me, and everyone can see that I am set apart to Elohim.
Amen. Very nice. Excellent. Excellent. All right, by the way, just a thought came to my head, it has nothing to do with what Ashley said, but I do get emails every now and then from people trying to tell me that I don't need to defend myself and all this other stuff. Well, I don't know why anybody thinks I sound like I'm defending myself. I don't need to defend myself. I don't care. I'm giving you the understanding so you can defend. Because nobody's going to bother me calling me a cult leader, this, that, or the other thing. They're going to bother you. Any of you been told this is a cult? Okay? Their hands up, okay? And they'll say the same things about me, etc. I'm just giving you an understanding of how you can address that, okay? And that's something that I do. I'm not here to defend myself. I know who I am, what my role is, and if anybody stands in front of me, I'll teach them. And then that's the way this works, right? Okay, as long as there's people in the room, I'll teach. If there's nobody in the room, I'll do something else. So it's not about defending that. I'm giving you a clearer understanding, because I don't want you to have a doubt pop in your mind and not have an answer for that doubt. Does that make sense? Okay, Michael. So you can stop sending the emails. I get emails like once a week, people saying, Rabbi, you just need to stop defending yourself. I'm not defending myself, okay? I'm helping you understand the difference between what this is and what people may be accusing it of. Go ahead.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
To start off with, I'm not an orator. I'm a writer, so I don't speak. I write well, though. But so bear with me here a little bit on this one, because this goes to a place that I don't get to almost ever. Yesterday, I got up here and I made my prayer request, and I want to thank everybody here. The Torah study was phenomenal, and I had no less than 10 brothers come to me and say, you can call me if you need me. This is the first time in my life I've ever experienced that. I did not know it was okay for a man to reach out for help. And now that I know that's okay, I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Amen.
So today's teaching was awesome. Got a little bit of misty-eyed there, but I've got some situations going on in my life, not necessarily directly about me, but they're causing me to do a lot of introspection, which is what led to the prayer request that I had yesterday, because I have come to realize that I have a problem with forgiveness of self. And that's where this is going, or that's where this is coming from. And I know that I'm not the only one in the world, and I'm not the only one in this mishpacha who has a problem with forgiveness of self. But the thought that occurs to me as I'm talking about this and as I'm trying to work through this, and I'm taking the steps that I can, and I'm trying to at least adhere to the mechanical parts of what I'm supposed to do while my brain's in this funk, my heart's in this funk, and I don't know what I'm doing, is that if I can't forgive myself, will Elohim be able to forgive me for those things that I've done? And then alternatively, what are some things that I can go through, or what are some things that I can do to address this issue? Because I've got a lot of stuff left to do, and I'm ready to level up. And I've been a serial quitter all my life, but this is my last quit, because I quit quitting, and I quit now.
All right. All right. Look, he said one thing that I think is really, really good, but also really, really sad. Okay, it's really sad that we've managed to go through 6,000 years and men don't know that they can ask for help. And so it's really cool to hear him say that, but it's really sad to know that that's a reality, that men don't think that it's okay to admit weakness, that we admit frustrations, admit failures, admit lackings and things like that in their whatever aspect of their life they're talking about. And so I'm very glad for you that you came to the experience, and I'm really glad that you had a bunch of men give you the encouragement that it was okay, and it was something you could do. And we do have a few men that contact us on a regular enough basis and ask for help, and they're doing really well compared to men who don't. But, you guys really have a hard time being willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't have it all figured out. I need help, okay? And if you can figure that out, then you can at least figure out that you need help, then go get help. And now you heard Michael tell you that, hey, I found out and realized it's okay to admit and be open a little bit about the fact that you're struggling with something. So that's very good. Okay, Janet.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
I just praise my Elohim for men's brains. When I work with men, they get fixed like this in one session. Women take like at least 5-6 sessions. So, seriously, God knew how He created your brains. It's really amazing. They're very effective. And I really praise that because He put you guys to be our heads, and I'm so excited about that.
Okay, let me explain that to you. Now, in a very simple way. Men, in terms of thinking, we generally, are a one thing at a time person. So when they come in to get something fixed with you, Janet's a therapist, when you fix that one thing, it fixes it, all right? With women, everything is connected. So you can't just fix one thing. It's spaghetti connected to everything else in their life, okay? And so you'd have to fix and untangle 15 things to fix the one thing. It's the wiring. That's not pick. It's just to understand that. Men are pretty much one thing at a time that's the way our brains work, right? And so, husbands know what I'm talking about when I say this. You're talking to your wife about A, and all of a sudden she's talking about B, and you're like, didn't even realize she switched topics, you know what I'm saying? And you go, what are you talking about? And in her head, they're connected. In our head, we're like, how did you go from what we talk about here to talk about this? Because it wasn't like when you're in a conversation and you just change topics. She's talking as if we're talking about the same thing. Then somehow you realize we're not talking about the same thing. But in her mind, it's the same thing. They're connected. But she expects that you understand where she went. Because I'm like, I need a map. Where did you go? Okay? And so hearing from a therapist gives some confirmation about this, So it's not that men receive better than women do. It's because men have a less complex, topically, what they're focused on. So if they have a problem, it's the problem. And it's not connected to 15 other areas of their life in the same way that women have it, okay? And so that's the way He made us. All right? Which also makes the male role more supposed to be that logical part where the women tend to be a little bit more emotional part. And so it brings that balance. and things like that. Okay, so anyway, so hopefully that made sense why. And if you ever look up a guy named Mark Gungor, The Two Brains, okay, he's Christian, but he does a really good thing from understanding the man brain versus the woman brain. Okay, look it up on YouTube. He's very funny. And so, anyway, go ahead.
And your teaching was just the best. Every time I come here, I think that your teacher is the best, and it keeps getting better and better. But I really believe this was so good. So when you just said about the rational mind, the emotional mind, I almost jumped off my seat when you said, Yeshua is the rational mind. So I can identify now in my head with the rational mind. Oh, that's him talking. So I need to let him lead so that my emotional mind starts to quiet down a little bit. But Rabbi, I wanted to ask you, I made a connection between shalom and belief. And I wanted to see if you could expand a bit on that. And there's a couple of things that came with that, like Luke 8:24. The account of Yeshua when they were going through that storm.
Yeah.
And then it says, and they ceased, and there came a calm. So I thought about shalom in that sense. And then you were talking about how the shield protects. And
Wait, hold on.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, no, because I know I interrupt people a lot, but sometimes I want to connect something that he gives me at that moment. All right, so this connection between belief and shalom and what you just read here in Luke. So first of all, without belief, you can't really have shalom, because belief helps you understand why you're not in shalom and how you should be able to have it when it doesn't seem like you should be able to have it. How can you have calm in a storm? Okay? But I want you to, something just hit me when you were saying that, because I was thinking of the other things, and then when you mentioned there came a calm, my brain was brought to the fact that there was a rebuking. You need to rebuke that wind of emotion that's creating the storm in you. That will bring the calm. Okay? You need to take the mind up here and shut this one down with a rebuke saying, knock it off. You need to be quiet. You need to just calm down, because it's that emotional mind that's running just, wide open. That's the problem. So you may need to rebuke that. I've actually rebuked a few of you that way in counseling and said, stop. I've made them stop because they'll just get on this roll and I'm like, and I have to say, stop. So don't forget, it became calm only after he rebuked. Okay? And so you may need to either have me do it or you do it, depending on whatever your situation. Bring in and say, I have a problem. This is just running and it needs to be shut down. It needs to be told, you need to stop. Because that's what the rebuke was. It was to make it stop, right? It said, you need to stop. So he didn't just say, hey, stop. He commanded. He rebuked the wind and said, you need to stop. So calm comes when your rational mind tells your emotional mind, stop. Okay? Good.
Yeah, thank you. So I appreciate you explaining that connection better. And then when you were talking about how Yeshua endured everything that happened to him at the end, right, before he was crucified, I don't know, I remember when I was, I had two home births, and one was with a midwife. I remember, if anybody has done birth their children without any help, any epidural, anything, the pain can get really, really strong at some point. And it's different for every woman, but I remember a time when I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. And I told my midwife, I can't do this. And she told me that pretty much right after that, the baby was born.
Right.
So basically she said, You're there. You're really, literally, you're there. So you can do this. Yeah. And that encouraged me. That was really cool.
My wife had the same thing with our first baby. She was getting to that point, she's like, and then it was like, but he's here,
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And think of it this way. Take what she just said. Sometimes if you would just hold on and hang in there for a little longer, at that moment of quit, and I can't, what you're looking to have happen does happen. Okay? Because the baby didn't come out till you got almost to that quit. All right? All right, so good.
And it made me think of one more thing. I've been doing a lot of studying lately, and for some reason the concept of delayed gratification has been coming. And I learned that there's three things that immigrants, like I'm an immigrant from Peru, right? And there's across the board from different countries, there are three things, and I'm not going to tell you the other two, but one of them that they share is that they are able to delay gratification. So I was thinking about how Yeshua, and even us in our walk, how we can endure, knowing that the final prize is going to come, and we can keep going, right, delaying that. And through the process, he's also giving us encouragement and wisdom and blessings and all that, but we just need to keep going, and I love that idea. So anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Chris.
I thought it was interesting that he rebuked the wind, and like in our lives, we don't rebuke the person causing whatever. We're just rebuking in our mind what's happening. The wind, not the person or making a problem like that. I was thinking about the connection in Ephesians 6 in verses 16, verses 14, but between the breastplate of righteousness and the shield of belief. So if you have your shield up, then you have two different layers of protection. You have the breastplate of righteousness, which is like the mechanics, and then the belief shield, another layer of protection that goes first.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that the breastplate of righteousness you wear and is always on you, the mechanics are kind of easy to just keep doing, but the breastplate or the shield you have to keep holding up. And I find in my life that you kind of have to, it's not as easy as the mechanics to just keep doing, but you have to always remind yourself to have that vertical belief mindset.
Absolutely.
Trust.
Awesome.
And lastly, I thought, I'm not really sure about, when it talks about the arrows, it doesn't say that it protects you from like the injury from the arrow. It says that it protects you, or it quenches the arrow. So when it's trying to get to your heart, it's quenching the fire, I guess. And it doesn't. You'll still have to deal with the situation, but you won't have to deal with the fire or the emotional turmoil, I guess, maybe. That was more of a stretch, I thought.
No, actually, I'm glad you said that. I had left that part out. And so what you want to understand with the quenching part is that it's quenching the fire. And what's usually the fire in your trials? Your emotional response. Okay, so belief will help quench the emotional response. Okay? So that's really, and actually, if you think about it, what puts out fire? Water. And who's the source of the living water? Yeshua. All right, so you bring all that in, it'll help. That doesn't mean the trial will end immediately just because you have your belief, but at least you quench the fire of it. Okay? Okay. Rocky.
Thank you, Rabbi. Here I am. Do you guys know why you're here yet? I know why I'm here, because I'm not all there. There's no doubt about it. There's nothing that I ever did in my life until emotions were connected to it. If I wasn't driven by emotion, I didn't even move. I didn't move on anything. A lot of times I look back and those emotions were negative and destructive, and I'm like, oh, that was a dumb idea. But it surely felt good for a little bit. But so, that's where I struggle with, because I look at these emotions as, it's all emotion. But it's to manage and control these emotions with the intellect and my intelligence, and I see you do that. It just blows me away. You say that you take the test and you don't have any, but I just believe that you manage them so well. For what it's worth.
Oh, that was like a medical examining thing. It said, by the way, you don't have emotions. No, I do have emotions. I just don't react as much emotion. Listen, if I get frustrated, you'll see emotion. I can get angry. I do have emotions, but I don't make decisions from emotion. Okay? Not ever. I mean, I'm human, so I have my failings there. But I'm saying, but I make very few emotionally guided and motivated decisions. And that's, keeps a lot of the stress and strain out of my life. Okay?
Right. Well, that's helped me a lot. Just watching you, interacting with you, And another thing, I look up these words a lot, and I'm a slow learner and a fast forgetter, and I'll look up them again, and I'll literally forget them, and I'll literally talk about them, I'll think about them, I'll say them. And I looked at this word, it was the word voice. That, my sheep hear his voice. I looked up this word, of course, it's been weeks I've been looking up. I've looked it up several times because I'll forget it. I'm like, what was that? What did it mean? And it means disclosure. I was like, wow, through disclosure. And if you haven't disclosed things to me, what the truth is, then I must not be hearing this voice. It's not literally a sound. It doesn't even say sound. It says light, disclosure, or show. That makes so much sense for what it's worth.
No, that's great. That's great because I think I mentioned last night that Yeshua is the voice, right, of the Father. Okay? So, and then he gives people like me, human beings, the ability to actually put sound to that voice, okay? And when we share the things that he said, okay? Shamer Steve?
Okay. Samdad, I think I got this cleared up here because you talked about where's our belief, and I think we tend to allow the actions of men to put fences on what Abba can do for us. Because in a trial, it seems like our belief wavers so easily, and then the actions of men put a dent in our shield, and some of us are so focused on that dent, we can't move forward. And so I think if we can learn how to reinforce our shield or our belief with expectations rather than old experiences, we might be able to move forward.
All right. Amen. Amen. All right, live stream? You don't have any? Okay. The live stream is sitting there like this. Look, the emotional thing, right? You cannot have fear really do much if your rational mind is running. Because the rational mind says this, it is what it is. The response to interpreting what is an emotional thing. Is the is good? Is it bad? Is it dangerous? Is it safe? All right? Do I want it? Don't I want it? These are all emotional responses. Okay? And look, there was something else I was going to say while I'm waiting for the children. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Janet was saying another awesome teaching, this, that, or the other thing, whatever. Look, I've got 700 teachings now on the internet, right? And I believe they're all equally good. And I'm not saying that, let me finish my point, right? I don't think a human being can do that so thoroughly, consistently, etc., where the level of quality maintains. It's got to be from above, okay? That's just one of those things to point out. Because I listen to some people over the years that I think are really good, and every now and then there's a dud. There's something that's just not really whatever. And I don't, because I come up here without something other than this is the verse I'm reading and then this is the verse I'm reading. There's no notes. All right, I know you see me look down, so I just want to see what verse is next and where I'm starting and stopping. But all of it's me being open to whatever he's going to throw out there. And so that's why they're good. Okay, I appreciate the compliments, but that's not why they're good. Okay? Because I can't point to one that I said, well, don't watch that one, or don't listen to that one. That wasn't a good one. Okay? But they're all good because I have, and I'm going to take credit for this, I have done the work of getting out of the way when I'm at the microphone. All right? And that's something that you need to learn. If you can get out of the way in certain parts of your life where you need to get out of the way and let him do what he needs to do, you will have success with that, and it won't be any duds. Okay, there'll only be really good things. So, because some of you would be scared to death doing what I do because you'd come up here, you mean with nothing, notes, nothing? I said, no, I just, my notes is this big. It says, what kind of attacks are you talking about? How does belief act as a shield? Then Luke 8, then 1 Peter 1, and then James 1. That's all it says. Okay? Then it's got the next verses to keep going. There's no notes. Because I don't know what he wants you to hear until I open my mouth. All right? Because anybody out there preaching could teach on belief and take it in 50 different ways. Different aspects, different focuses, but this was the focus he wanted you to hear in connection to the shield, in connection to these other things. I wasn't really sure where this was going to go. I never do. I just know that I've got enough of it already up here that if he would just bring it out and package it in the way it's meant for you guys, it'll be awesome. Because that's what he did, right? Okay? Anyway. All right, the children here now?